Hi there, welcome to Bitesize Piano. I hope you are well. This video was actually inspired by a comment I received on one of my videos, which is here. He asked why I used my second finger sometimes instead of my third finger to play some chords. And whilst that is obviously right to use your third finger, it's also necessary to use your second finger as well, and it's inspired this video, so hello if you're watching. The inspiration is, of course, how to transition smoothly, effectively, and easier and quicker from going from chords to chord. So there's a few ways I've come up with and also help you understand what I do in my videos. So I don't usually speak about fingers, which fingers to use. I just sort of hope that you copy what I do. Sometimes I will mention which fingers to use when I feel it's suitable. So hopefully this will outline where I use the fingers that I use, and hopefully it will help you transition smoother, quicker from going from chord to chord. Also, if you're brand new here, hello, my name is Francesca. I'm a teacher here at Bitesize Piano. I put new videos out at the moment, Tuesdays, Fridays and Sundays. So be sure to hit the notifications bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video and you can be the first to learn. Please consider subscribing and say hello if you're a new person watching my videos in the comments below. So the first point is we're going to speak about fingers. So using natural finger placements to help you transition smoothly from going from chord to chord. So let's go to the piano. So probably the biggest thing that's going to help you transition more smoothly going from chord to chord is making sure that you're using correct fingers or suitable fingers. So obviously I already mentioned earlier that I received a comment on one of my videos asking why I sometimes use my 2 instead of only using 1, 3, 5 every single time. And yes, playing 1, 3, 5, so like C major for example, makes sense, makes perfect sense. Does it make sense to play it like this, or like this, or like this? Because these fingers, your 1, 3 and 5, align with those notes a lot more naturally, so it makes sense to use those fingers. If I was transitioning to another chord, so this chord here is G major, but it's G major first inversion, so it wouldn't make sense for me to use 1, 3, 5 there when my second finger is already resting above this D, which I'm going to need for the next chord. Obviously my little finger is already on that G, so I just move my thumb, extend my thumb to the B, and that's the quickest way to get from that chord to that chord by far. Another example. So here is first inversion of F major. A, C, F. I'm going to transition the other way, so the next chord I'm going to use my third finger, which is B flat major. B flat, D, and F in root position. So the main points to take from that is use whichever fingers lie naturally over the notes. Don't avoid using your 4 and 5. Don't always stick to playing 1, 2, 3. That's a waste there. You have 2 fingers there, which although are slightly less able and slightly less stronger, are still very useful, and you should use them and strengthen them up. Same thing if you're playing a more widespread set of chords. So here we've kind of got a C major 7, and then here we've got a D minor 7. I'm going to use my 4th finger for the first one because I know that the next chord is going to need this C. It probably makes sense for me to use the 4th finger on that B so I can smoothly transition into the next chord without having to move. That I feel is more work. So practicing alternating your fingers is honestly the best way to try to transition smoothly. So have a go at picking chords. Again, this is just another example. We have E minor, which is 1, 3, 5, to D major. So there I'm alternating my 5 to a 4 and my 3 to a 2 and extending my thumb to the D. So you're going could have a go at playing back and forth between chords like that. So if I was going, in that instance I would probably use 1, 2, 3 for the C major. If I wanted it to be as smoothly transitioned as possible, you could go like this. You could, but I was using the pedal then. It's very difficult for me to play that smoothly without using the pedal. It sounds a bit smoother, there is a difference there. The second point then is actually quite simple. It's not a very huge point, but it's moving your hands further up the keys. It's as simple as that. So you can still press the keys and play the chords, playing quite high up. And obviously this is when you need to use your 1 or your 5, your thumb or your little finger, to play a sharp or a flat, to play a black note. So this one is kind of what I showed you in the first one. So going between the first inversion of F to B flat major. So obviously there, I'm playing a black note, the B flat, with my thumb. So in order for me to do that, can you see what I'm doing? I'm moving my whole hand further up the keys. You can still play the chord right up there. So don't twist, do anything weird or awkward with your wrist. Slide your hand up, and it makes the black notes a lot more accessible, particularly when playing them with your smaller fingers, so your thumb and your little finger. As smoothly as possible. So here's another transition. So for example, so we start off with F sharp minor, F sharp, A and C sharp, and I'm going to go to E major. So my second finger is already resting over that G sharp, my fourth finger is already resting over that B, so I just need to move my thumb to the E, and then I'm there. So this time I'm sliding back down. If I go back the other way, slide up, like that. So remember, you can still play the keys higher up as well, and you shouldn't always be playing on the tips and forcing your wrists to go in ways it shouldn't go, and that will hopefully avoid any unnecessary injury, strain injury between either side of your wrist as well. So slide your hands up, slide them down. Don't necessarily keep twisting your wrist and causing strain. Obviously sitting a good distance away from the piano as well helps, and if you sat too close, that's going to encourage more strain in those areas as well, which you really don't want. So the third point is inversions. So I speak about inversions in several other videos. I'll link a load of those down below. I've done a whole video, it's an older one, explaining inversions and going in depth about what they are. But ultimately inversions is one of the best ways you can transition. If you're not trying to be too specific or accurate about what you're playing or how the chords are voiced, which means what order you play the notes in, like what you hear to be the highest note and the lowest note. And then inversions are a great way to help you pretty much keep your hand in the same position on the piano and just alternating fingers. So putting into practice points 1 and points 2 and combining them all together. Using inversions is what I've been doing in the past couple of points. Is also one of the biggest ways to help you transition between chords. So as long as you're playing the root note or the right root note, whichever that needs to be, in the left hand, and you're not too concerned about how it's voiced in the right hand, you can keep your hand in one very general area instead of moving root position every single time. Because chords have notes in common with other chords, this makes it a lot easier to transition. So mixing that with moving your hands further up the piano and using the more natural placed alternating fingers that we spoke about in the first point, all these things combined helps you transition smoothly going from chord to chord. So for example, I'll use my left hand now, I'll just play octaves in my left hand. So we've got G major, second inversion. Obviously I'm just going to support that with G's in the bass. And then I'm going to go to B minor. So what I'm going to do is change the G to an F sharp because B minor has D and B in common with G major. So it's just literally a matter of moving that to that, or you could use your second finger. Then I could move smoothly to C major. Again, doesn't make sense to move my whole hand when I just need to extend my thumb. And then I'm going to play D major. So move my thumb back. My fourth finger is already laid over that A. Again, or you could use your third finger there. But it's just about finding the fingers that are more readily available. And again, that's not natural, so don't be trying to play all of those chords with the same fingers like that. I see this so many times, particularly with self-taught people. So strange having like an eagle claw hand. So if I played all of those chords in roots position, I'm going to need to do a lot more hand movement like this. So G major. Which is mainly between the G. That's a big transition. Going up there or down there. Or you could play it here, just an example, and just change one note. I've also done an entire video on how to practice chords effectively, which I will link everywhere down below. Go and check that out. It will complement this video really nicely, and you can put more into practice about what I've spoken about today. So the final thing is using the pedal, so specifically the sustain pedal. So obviously you've heard me use it in this video, and I've had to make myself not use the pedal because it's quite an instinctive thing for me. When I come to play something that's chord based, I will use the pedal, particularly if there's a lot of movement in the hands. So if you can't avoid not having lots of different hand movement, and then using the pedal, the sustain pedal, if you have one, to help bridge the silence gap, if you like, to help sustain the chord as you find your hand position for the next one. If I play some chords that are quite far away, you know, that don't transition as what we've been speaking about, if you've got no other option and the chords are dotting around quite a lot, and then using the pedal will help you fill that silence gap as you find your fingers for the finger position for the next chord. So for example, I was taking my hand off, but I'm sustaining the sound with the pedal. So there I was just playing the 2, 5, you know, your typical jazz chord progression. I'm playing them all in root position as well because it's completely different position. So not using inversions or anything like that. So if I play that without the pedal now, get that kind of stop gap. So using the pedal helps and fills that gap so you can sustain the sound, the chord, with your foot whilst you find your fingers for the next chord. So with the pedal, in order to do that, you have to refresh the pedal as you play the chord, not just before it, otherwise it defeats the purpose of what you call legato pedaling. So I put my foot down, keep it down, and then I refresh it as I'm holding the next chord down. Up, down. Up, down. So those are I think there were 4 tips there on how to transition between chords more effectively, more efficiently, more smoothly, quickly. I hope that's been useful. Let me know below what else you would like to see from me, and I hope to see you in the next video. So that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it and that it's useful. If you'd like to leave a piano tutorial request, you need to click on this video, which takes you through to my official request space. You do need to be subscribed. All requests are noted and considered, so I look forward to seeing you over there.